Since Z690 launched, we've covered lots of Z690 boards, and the MSI Unify is probably going to be the last one that we're going to be doing for quite a while, unless something really interesting comes along. We're not really going to be covering any more of these boards for these 12th gen Intel CPUs. With that said, we're taking a bit of a look at the MSI MEG Z690 Unify. Let's take a look. As usual with our motherboard content, these videos are not reviews. Repeat, they are not reviews. They're just overviews so we can take a bit of a look at what's physically on the board and what comes in the box when you buy a brand new motherboard. The reason why we're doing this board as well is because this is one of the boards you guys have been requesting since the launch of Z690. So let's take a bit of a closer look. All right, ladies and gents, let's take a bit of a look at the MSI MEG Z690 Unify. But first of all, we need to get that motherboard out of the box so we can take a bit of a closer look at all of the things that come in this motherboard box. And with this motherboard, obviously, there's a little box with everything in the bottom. And the first thing we've got is the Wi-Fi antenna for the built-in Wi-Fi 6E and the Bluetooth as well. There's the little USB stick with all the drivers and everything that you need to get up and running. If you don't have an internet connection, gone are the days of those spinning plastic discs. Next up is this little breakout cable. This is a breakout cable for the front panel connectors for your lights and all your switches and everything like that. You do not need to use this, it's just included with the board. There's also some SATA or SATA cables for your 2.5-inch SSDs or your spinning rush drives. There's a collection of different RGB adapters for addressable RGB, some analog RGB, some Corsair RGB connectors because this board has a Corsair RGB connector, but if you're buying this board, you're not going to be using RGB. There's also a bunch of documentation. This is pretty standard with MSI boards. It's just like a bunch of promo stuff. You can use it or not use it, and there's some stickers mixed in there as well. There's the magical MSI badge. Now this is a Unify board, so it's got a gray version. Put this on your case, get more performance. Scientific method. This is also not true. This is a revised quick installation guide that talks about socketing LGA 1700 CPUs and a bunch of other CPUs as well. So it's not just the Intel stuff, it's everything. This is great for first time builders. And if you're building for the first time, this will also be helpful as well. This is the Z690 Unify user guide. This will go through the BIOS settings, what everything is on the board, where everything is, and how to get up and running when you first build your system. There's also this little MSI brush that's included in the box too. This is just, you know, if you get a bit of dust on your board and you want to clean it out a little bit, this is going to help you get your board nice and clean. There's also some of these M.2 locks. There's no screws on this board for M.2 slots anymore. You screw these into the slots and then you can lock the drives in without using screws, if that makes sense. Look at our build videos, you'll see exactly what I mean. There's also a set of screwdrivers on this little keyring thing. You can use this as a weapon or you can use it to build your PC. It's completely up to you. I won't judge you. But lastly, let's unsheath the Z690 Unify and take a little bit of a closer look at all of the itty bitty little bitty details on the board. Let's jump in. First up, we've got the front panel audio header. There's a 4-pin 12-volt RGB header next to that, and a 3-pin 5-volt addressable RGB header. There are 3 PWM fan connectors and another fan connector for, let's say, a pump or a water pump or something that you've got plugged into your system down below. There's also 2 USB 2.0 headers down there as well. There's a Thunderbolt header if that's something you wanted to use. There's also a BIOS switch, which is for the dual BIOS setup on this board, and power and reset button, and front panel connectors for your lights and all your switches and all that jazz. There's 6 SATA ports for your 2.5-inch SSDs or your spinning rush drives, 2 right-angled USB 3.2 headers. There's also a USB Type-C front panel header, the 24-pin power connector to send all the juice to your brand new Z690 Unify. There's a connector for a sensor next to the 24-pin power connector. There's an array of LEDs for diagnosing your system. There's a Corsair RGB header, a 3-pin 5-volt addressable RGB header, and 2 more PWM fan connectors. And on the top of the board, you'll notice there's a postcode diagnostic LED screen. There's 3 more PWM fan connectors, and if we jump onto the other side of the board, you'll see that there's 2 8-pin EPS power connectors to supply power to your brand new 12th gen CPU. But if we take a look at the PCIe slots, you'll notice that it's a little bit different to some other boards you've seen. So this has got two full-size PCIe Gen 5 slots. The top one is a by 16 slot, the middle one is a by 8 slot, and you'll notice there's another by 4 slot at the bottom with an open end, but that's only PCIe Gen 3. This board features Intel's Z690 chipset, and as all of these videos that I've shown in the past, I show you guys that the chipset is passively cooled with a giant heatsink. There's no active cooling required for Z690. In terms of the VRM layout, this board features a 19 plus 2-phase digital VRM setup, and the entire I/O cover, as we're about to see, is a heatsink for that VRM cooling. It is pretty excessive for VRM cooling, if I'm being absolutely honest. You'll notice there's another heatsink at the top of the board too, and if we look a little bit closer, there's a heat pipe that connects both of the heatsinks together. All right, let's pop open that brand new LGA 1700 socket. So this socket has a slightly different retention system than we've seen on older Intel boards, and it is more reminiscent of older types of HEDT sockets. It also features 1700 contact pins. There's 1800 in total, but 1700 that are being used at this point in time with standard LGA 1700 cooler mounting. If we flip the board over, you can see there's a backplate that covers just about half of the board. You'll notice there's an AMD logo on the back of the board. Guys, this is pretty normal. We see this all of the time with these boards, and you'll also notice that the keep out zones for all the standoffs on your motherboard are indicated as well. For RAM support, you're looking at 128 gigs of DDR5 at 6666 megatransfers overclocked. Let's get the heatsinks off so we can take a bit of a look at the M.2 slots, and I'll tell you guys exactly what's going on here. Right, the 3 M.2 slots that I'm highlighting now are all PCIe Gen 4 M.2 slots. The top one's connected into the CPU, the other 2 are connected into the chipset. And if we look at the bottom slots, one is a PCIe Gen 3 M.2 slot and the other is a PCIe Gen 4. So there's 4 PCIe Gen 4 M.2 slots in total. For rear I/O, we've got a clear CMOS button, we've got a BIOS flashback button, we've got PS2 if you're using LN2 for overclocking, a bunch of USB 3.2 ports, USB Type-C, dual 2.5 gigabit Ethernet, the antenna connectors for the built-in Wi-Fi 6E and Bluetooth. There's also 7.1 digital surround sound with optical and SPDIF output, and an integrated I/O shield. Ladies and gents, I hope you enjoyed this overview of the MSI MEG Z690 Unify. This is a board, again, like I mentioned at the start of the video, that you guys have been wanting to get a bit of a closer look at, considering it's one of those boards designed to not have any RGB, and that's actually the thing that I love about these Unify boards. MSI is kind of catering to the part of the market that doesn't care about all the bling bling, because personally, I don't really care about it either in my own personal systems. As you've probably seen, most of them either have the RGB completely turned off, they don't use RGB hardware, or they have a solid side panel. So yeah, that's the story. In terms of pricing for this board, now I couldn't find any Aussie pricing, which is bizarre because I don't even think that this board is available to purchase here at all. Although I will comment on Z690 stock in general just being almost non-existent for most boards. And I've chatted to a lot of people. Sorry, I'm just gonna go off on a tangent here. I've chatted to quite a few people about them trying to get Z690 boards, and a lot of the time the stuff that they want just is not available. So not only that, the prices for these boards are quite high. And like I said already, I couldn't find any definitive Aussie pricing for this. Well, that said, I couldn't find any Aussie pricing. But if you're interested in the US price, which I could find, I think it's going for around $499 at the time of filming. But checking the stock in the US as well, it seems that there's not going to be anything for the next couple weeks. And I suspect that'll probably roll on over into the new year, because with shipping and stuff over the holiday period, it's like, yeah, we'll get more of that stock, and then it just doesn't happen usually until the new year. So yeah, this is the board you guys wanted to see. Here it is. And if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button twice. You can smash that dislike button twice if you hated the video, which is okay because dislikes are basically gone now, which is weird. And if you like the music you heard here, I make all the music. It's available over on our Patreon. Once again, thank you so very much for watching. I'm your boy Nick with Gear Seekers. You peek, we seek. And thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys next time. Yeah. But not with a motherboard. It'll be something else. Something else fun. I'm going to build some stuff this weekend, I think. I think you guys might like it.